to night. Night. We travel back in time. Why?
To an age lost to time.
Where days were simple.
And evenings were still ...
Take a deep breath and let your thoughts settle into the quiet past. Tonight, we explore 300 quiet moments from history. Long ago, in ancient times,
People lived in ways very different from today.
in the gentle light of dawn, small villages began to stir. Wooden homes stood nestled among fields of green and gold. Smoke from chimneys rose in faint curling wisps into the sky. Birdsong filled the air, soft and tender, in the early hours. Inside, families awoke slowly, wrapped in woolen blankets. The first light seeped through narrow windows, casting mellow beams. Warm hearth fires crackled quietly, inviting gentle comfort. Women moved with calm steps to tend household chores. Clay pots simmered softly on the stone hearth's steady glow. Children stretched their arms, still caught in dreams as day began. The smell of fresh bread lingered faintly from the evening's baking. Men prepared for the day ahead with hushed conversations. Steps echoed softly along dirt paths as folks left their homes. Animals stirred too, lowing cattle and neighing horses awaking. The village slowly took shape beneath a serene morning sky. Fields were visited by hands steady and patient with familiar work. Farm tools rested against wooden fences, ready for use. Seeds were scattered quietly with thoughtful care into warm earth. Sunlight warmed faces and fields under a sky so wide and calm. Water from clear streams was gathered in simple wooden buckets. A single fishing boat rocked gently on a nearby tranquil lake. Leaves rustled softly in mild, whispering breezes through the trees. Villagers greeted one another with nods and soft-spoken words. The pace was unhurried, steady, in a world woven with routine. Laundry was hung with care on lines between sturdy posts. In gardens, hands tended herbs with thoughtful, methodical movements. The scent of thyme and lavender mingled with the fresh morning air. Lanterns hung on doorways waited for soft evening illumination. Plans for the day were whispered in the calm of shared spaces. Baskets were filled with fresh eggs, cooling milk, and root vegetables. Fish was cleaned quietly near gentle water flowing over stones. A blacksmith's shop warmed steadily, its furnace glowing with mild heat. Careful strikes of hammer met iron in softened, rhythmic motions. Nearby, the mill wheel turned steadily, lifting water with mellow creaks. Grain was ground in measured pace beneath the watchful sky. The gentle drip of water marked the steady passing moments.
Shadows stretched long as the sun climbed, soft across village roofs.
Slow steps moved through markets, opening with tender murmurs. Sacks of salt and honey were laid out in orderly rows. The delicate clink of pottery echoed faintly among wooden stalls. Bundles of cloth were folded with care and arranged in warm light. Fruit bowls overflowed softly with apples, pears, and late-season berries.
Spices, rare and precious, lent a faint warmth to the market air.
Voices were low, conversation filled with thoughtful exchange. Hands reached for goods with measured, unhurried motions.
Elders sat on benches,
watching the world ease into its daily rhythm. Mothers held infants close, the quiet hum of lullabies in their voices. The village well was a gathering spot of calm companionship. Water was drawn with steady hands in the warmth of midday.
a breeze carried the faint scent of hay and fresh birth.
Quiet laughter sprinkled the air among children playing near lanes. Dogs lay curled beneath oak trees, eyes barely open in the sun. Even the cobblestones seemed to rest in the mellow brightness. The afternoon moved gently toward the cool hush of coming evening. Let us now drift toward the simple charm of village kitchens. The breath of wood smoke mingled with herbs simmering softly. Earthenware pots held stews bubbling with roots and fresh greens. Hands stirred slowly, steady and sure in their tender craft. The scent of onions and garlic rose in mellow waves. Bread crust cracked faintly as loaves cooled on wooden boards. Cheese rested on rough cloth, waiting for moonlit slicing. Warm butter melted softly on freshly cut slices of bread. Families gathered around tables made smooth by years of use. Faces glowed under flickering candlelight, framed by humble homes. Conversations were hushed, flowing in calm, steady tones. The day's work was shared in simple stories and quiet smiles. Cats brushed gently between legs, looking for scraps and warmth. A dog's breathing was slow and even by the hearth's side. Outside, the wind whispered softly through straw-thatched roofs above. The warm amber glow of lamps filled rooms with tender light. In corners, clay vessels waited for the night's rest. Windows shut softly against the coolness of evening's approach. Hands folded in laps, the household settled into warm tranquility. A faint wind carried the scent of lavender fields beyond the walls. The peaceful rhythm of hearth fires crackling merged with night sounds. Owls called distantly, adding their serene melody to the evening's hush. The stars appeared gradually, twinkling with calm, eternal light. Sleepiness pressed gently upon eyelids, inviting dreams to bloom. Voices quieted to whispered echoes before silence fully embraced the night. We moved gently to the warmth of a baker's morning. Before dawn, the baker rose in the calming chill of morning. The air was cool, filled with a faint, earthy scent of flour. Hands shaped dough with measured, tender care on wooden tables. Yeast slowly worked its magic beneath cloths woven from flax. The oven glowed softly as embers turned to comforting warmth. Loaves were placed neatly inside, the glow promising soft crusts. Quiet moments were spent counting the minutes as dough rose. The warmth of baking filled the air with gentle sweetness. Dew sparkled faintly on fields visible through the baker's small window. Birds began their calm serenade as light spilled softly inside. Families in nearby homes stirred, sensing the coming day's bread. The baker's breath was steady, eyes reflecting steady devotion. Wood smoke mingled with flower scent in a comforting blend. As bread emerged, it was set to cool on rough wooden shelves. The soft crackle of crusts united with the faint rustle of cloth. Early customers arrived, voices hushed in the crisp, still morning. The exchange of coins and bread happened with calm respect. Warm smiles passed hands over loaves, joining lives quietly. Finished, the baker paused to watch morning sweep through the town. Sunlight painted golden patches on worn stone streets outside. The rhythm of kneading resumed as the day's work unfolded. The scent of bread followed the baker out into the soft day. Nearby, children gathered quietly, their hopes faint and tender. This peaceful start blended with the wider village morning song. We now turn toward the gentle life of village gardens. Gardens blossomed with tender love in steady, caring hands. Rows of herbs and plants basked in the mellow sunlight. Hands brushed soil softly to protect young, delicate shoots. Water dripped slowly from clay jugs upon thirsty green leaves. The scent of mint, rosemary, and sage filled the warm breeze. Flowers nodded with faint colors, petals soft like quiet dreams. Berries ripened under steady eyes, ready for a careful harvest. In shaded corners, vegetables stretched toward the steady blue sky. Bees hummed faintly as they moved from blossom to blossom. The garden was a haven of calm among bustling village life. Old stone walls enclosed the green space, keeping it peaceful. Straw paths meandered gently between beds bursting with mellow life. Gardeners moved slowly, tending roots with a tender, watchful touch. Little hands helped gather leaves, soft with dawn's gentle rain. Sunlight filtered through leaves, dappling the earth in warm light. Small birds flitted about, their calls mingling with the breeze. Petals brushed gently against fingers, delicate and enduring. Time felt steady, unhurried, like the flow of a gentle stream. Evening brought shadows that cooled the garden's warm embrace. Lanterns hung carefully along paths to glow with soothing light. The fragrance of flowers merged with night's fresh, calm breath. Soft rustling of leaves played a soothing song for sleepy minds. A single owl's call marked the passage of restful hours. Gardens rested quietly beneath the silver gaze of moonlit skies. We move together now to a humble village schoolroom's calm. Morning light entered a small room with steady, peaceful grace. Rough wooden benches bore the weight of quiet, attentive children. Chalk dust hung faintly in the warm air, settling slowly. The teacher spoke in soft, even tones, words clear and slow. Books and tablets lay open, holding lessons in tender patience. Children listened with calm focus, their faces serene and still. Small hands traced letters carefully with pencils made of wood. The gentle scratch of quills marked soft parchment in steady lines. Outside, slow breezes carried the faint rustle of pages turning. Sunlight filtered through narrow windows, warming the cool room. A faint murmur of whispered questions floated in quiet harmony. The rhythm of learning was gentle, embracing moment by moment. The sound of quiet footsteps was steady in the hallways beyond. A cat dozed on a windowsill, basking in warm golden rays. Outside, the distant murmur of village life moved softly along. The schoolroom breathed calm and steady, a haven of quiet thought. Lessons passed like gentle waves, consistent and without rush. Children's eyes brightened with understanding in their tender minds. The slow dance of time within these walls soothed restless hearts. Soft voices faded as the day's teaching settled into soft memory. The bell tolled faintly, marking a calm transition between hours. Books were gathered with gentle care before the stillness of rest. The teacher offered a smile, filled with steady, quiet warmth.
In this place, knowledge grew by patient and tender hands.
We now wander to the village's gentle evening by the slow river. The river moved slowly, winding past reeds and willow trees. Water whispered in steady ripples beneath the fading light of day. Long shadows stretched softly over smooth stones along the banks. Fishermen sat quietly, lines cast with calm patience into the flow. The air was cool, with a faint scent of moss and damp earth. Dragonflies skimmed across the water, their wings catching golden light. Families strolled leisurely along grassy paths near the gentle current. Children's laughter was soft and distant, blending with nature's hum. A wooden bridge arched quietly over the mellow, moving river. Leaves floated gently downstream, carried by a tender, steady breeze. Swallows dipped low, tracing wide, calm circles in the air. Old trees stood sentinel, their branches swaying ever so lightly. The sun set slowly, painting sky in pale, peaceful colors.
A fisherman's basket rested by the shore, filled with the day's calm.
Moss grew softly on fallen logs, a carpet of green stillness. Evening glow warmed faces of those sitting by the riverside. The village settled quietly in the distance, windows aglow with warmth. Beneath the peaceful night sky, stars began to sparkle faintly. The river's song continued, a melody steady and untroubled. Blankets were spread on the grass for gentle watch of twilight. The coolness crept in softly as night wove its tender cloak. Whispers of night creatures rose gently without breaking the calm. A barn owl called softly, its voice mellow and low. The water reflected moonlight, shimmering with serene, faint shine. This quiet river scene carried the steady pulse of simple life. We turn now to the peaceful rhythms inside a village blacksmith's forge. Within the cool dawn, soft light touched the forge's stone walls. The blacksmith worked with quiet focus, hammering slowly with steady hands. Each strike was gentle, measured, metal warming beneath his careful touch. A faint glow from the fire bathed tools in a mellow light. Sparks flew briefly, like tiny stars, before fading into quiet air. The scent of coal and iron mingled softly with the cool morning. Outside, birds called faintly, their songs calm and reassuring. The rhythm of hammer and anvil sang a steady, hushed melody. Tools and horseshoes lay arranged with tender, methodical care. The blacksmith's breath was even, mingling with the faint clink of metal. Wooden beams above caught the warm glow, standing firm and sure. Smoke drifted lazily from the chimney, a soft, steady wisp. The forge felt timeless, a place of quiet creation and calm work.
Children watched from a distance, eyes wide with peaceful wonder.
A horse neighed gently in a nearby yard, adding to the stillness. The village stirred slowly around the steady beat of the forge. Evening brought cooler air, soft against the warm stone and metal. Lanterns were lit with careful hands, casting gentle, amber light. The blacksmith's day wound down like the slow closing of a flower. His hammer rested, the glowing embers fading into calm ashes. Outside, stars blinked faintly in a velvet sky, steady and bright. The workbench was cleared, tools laid down with tender precision. Silent footsteps echoed softly as night claimed the quiet village. Within the forge, peace settled with the softness of twilight. We now drift toward the hush of a village chapel at dusk. The chapel stood quietly, its stones cool beneath fading sun. Inside, candles flickered with gentle, tender flames and warm light. The scent of incense drifted softly through the hushed, reverent air. Wooden pews sat empty, polished to a soft, calming sheen. Stained glass windows glowed faintly, casting gentle, colorful shadows. The altar was simple, draped with cloth of pale, tender hues. The whispered prayers of a few filled the chapel's stillness. Voices rose slowly, blending in calm and steady harmony. The soft rustle of robes and footsteps marked reverent movement. Faint echoes of hymns brushed against stone walls, folded in peace. A single bell tolled softly outside, its voice carrying through calm streets. The village paused beneath the chapel's steady, quiet watch. Light from the candles shimmered gently on worn wooden crosses. The atmosphere held a steady, serene aura of quiet reflection. Outside, twilight deepened, wrapping the small building in tender blue. Crickets began their mellow song, a steady night chorus around. Inside, the calm lingered, like a breath held softly in time. Eyes closed, hearts rested in the chapel's peaceful embrace. The slow breath of faith mingled with the faint scent of wax. Stars peeked through high windows, twinkling with faint, steady light. The village succumbed to the gentle embrace of night's arrival. Soft footsteps left the chapel, quiet as falling leaves. Lantern light faded as the doors closed with calm assurance. Night settled across the village, steady and lovingly serene. We share now the slowly unfolding peace of day's end in a farmer's home. The farmer's cottage glowed dimly in final light of dusk. Rough woolen blankets covered beds, worn soft by many nights.
The glow of a small lamp filled the room with warmth.
Wooden beams creaked softly, steady under the cool evening air. A cat purred faintly near a flickering, low-burning fire. A mother hummed a tender tune and cradled a sleepy child. The quiet scrape of utensils came from a simple kitchen corner. A bowl of warm porridge rested where gentle hands had placed it. Outside, the last bird settled in branches, quiet as falling snow. The scent of hay seeped faintly in from the stable nearby. Children yawned softly, eyes heavy with the day's calm toils. The father sat in silence, stroking a dog's slow, steady breathing. Stories were shared in quiet tones before attention drifted away. The evening meal was simple but rich with the fruit of earth.
Steam rose softly from cups of mild broth, comforting and warm.
The wind whispered tenderly outside, brushing against the shutters. A lantern swung gently, casting mellow shadows on rough stone walls. The rhythm of household life slowed, folding into the night's hush. This peaceful moment was a gift wrapped in stillness and care. A mother's fingers brushed hair from a sleeping child's face. Soft breathing filled the room with steady, calming presence. All worries melted into shadows under the watchful glow of stars. Sleep embraced the cottage, wrapping all within its warm folds. Outside, the earth seemed to breathe gently beneath moon's faint smile. We now turn our gaze to the farm fields at the break of dawn. Morning arrived quietly as mist settled across wide open fields. Tall grasses swayed calmly in the early breeze's steady breath. Dew clung softly to leaves and blades, shimmering like faint stars. A rooster gave a single, low call to greet the day. Farmers moved slowly through rows of growing crops, hands careful. The earth held a warm promise beneath their soft, steady footsteps. Birds gathered in small flocks on beams and fence posts, peaceful watchers. Plants glistened with moisture, basking in mild morning light. A horse nuzzled quietly at a manger filled with tender hay. The scent of fertile soil mingled with wildflowers in bloom. Processions of ants marched aimlessly along worn paths in the dirt. Sunlight filtered through leaves in pale, honeyed beams, slow and sure. The sky was a calm canvas of soft blues and whites. Farmers shared subdued words as they worked in comfortable silence. Hands harvested with care, selecting only the ripest with tender touch. Nearby, a child gathered wild herbs, careful and steady in small hands. The village awoke around the far edges of peaceful farmland. Smoke rose faintly again, a signal of life beginning anew. The rhythm of cycles, gentle and predictable, moved without hurry. Insects buzzed faintly, a subtle melody woven into the morning. A simple wooden cart waited patiently for the day's gentle load. Foam on a creek bubbled softly, carving paths through stones. Laughter drifted quietly in the distance, soft as a lullaby. The workday stretched ahead, steady and full of quiet purpose. Flowing rivers, fields, and farms all breathed together in gentle time. We now wander through the calm bustle of a small village market. The market square filled slowly with quiet anticipation and tender light. Stalls of wood and cloth unfurled beneath the calm morning skies. Baskets brimmed with late-season vegetables and fruits of steady growth. Vendors arranged their goods with a practiced, gentle hand. Lemons and apples gleamed softly in the warm, diffused sunshine. Cloth in earthy tones fluttered faintly in mild, still breezes. The air hummed with quiet conversation and the faint clatter of coins. Eyes met with patient smiles as trade moved in peaceful flow. Old women sat on benches, sharing whispered stories of seasons past. Children weaved softly among the legs of calm, chatting villagers. Bundles of firewood stacked neatly for the cooling nights ahead. The smell of fresh herbs mingled with faint traces of baked bread. Simple tools and pottery were displayed with tender care. Packs of hens clucked quietly near a farmer's gentle touch. The sound of a spinning wheel turned steadily nearby, weaving calm. Breezes carried the faint scents of wool and earth from trade goods. Voices lowered to soft tones, blending into the warm market hum. Hands exchanged items with quiet confidence and trust. The crowd moved gently, like a soft river flowing through still spaces. Shadows lengthened as the sun traveled across the sky with steady grace. The market's rhythm was soft and unhurried, a heart beating quietly. Wooden carts jingled slowly as they were loaded with care. The murmur of village life merged seamlessly with nature's own breath. Evening approached, inviting vendors to pack up with calm satisfaction. Lanterns were prepared to light the paths for slow, steady travelers. We drift next to the tender, warm atmosphere of a village feast. Long tables were set beneath a wide, open canopy of leaves. Lanterns hung in rows, casting mellow pools of amber light. The scent of roasting root vegetables mingled with herbs and bread. Villagers gathered slowly, faces calm and glowing in the quiet firelight. Laughter was soft and steady, like a gentle breeze through branches. Plates were passed with tender care, filled with simple, hearty food. Children sat close, eyes bright with calm curiosity and contentment. The slow clink of wooden cups filled the air like subtle music. Stories were shared in low tones, each voice steady and warm. Fireflies bobbed quietly in the shrouded, tranquil evening air. The warm glow of the fire painted faces with gentle hues. Darkness fell softly, wrapping the gathering in a comforting fold.
Tales of seasons and harvests were whispered like treasured lullabies.
Hands reached across tables in peaceful exchange and quiet thanks. The feast wound down under a sky full of calm, steady stars. Embers glowed low, their warmth steady as the night deepened. The village rested easy, wrapped in shared kindness and tender light. We now follow the soft footsteps of a sheep herder's morning walk. Mist still lay faint on gentle hills and velvet green pastures. A shepherd moved slowly, tending flocks with care and steady hands. Sheep moved quietly, their soft bleats merging with morning's calm breath. Grass bent softly beneath careful footfalls on the cool, damp earth. The scent of wildflowers blended with dew's fresh, peaceful perfume. Birds watched from branches, their songs gentle in the warming air. The herder's voice was low, a steady hum to guide the flock. Paths wound gently between hills, familiar and worn with tender use. The sun rose in pale amber, spreading steady light across fields. Clouds drifted lazily, casting faint shadows on the vibrant grass. Stone walls edged the fields, standing watch like old friends at ease. The rhythm of walking, calling, and resting made a soothing song. Sheep gathered near, their soft fleece glowing in early sunlight. A dog trotted calmly nearby, eyes alert, but serene and steady. Occasional laughter rose faint, a thread of joy in the morning. Dewdrops sparkled on spider webs, delicate and shimmering bright. Day stretched ahead, unfolding slowly with nature's patient hand. The shepherd's steps were quiet, footprints fading into soft earth. Life moved gently in tune with seasons, sky, and steady hearts. Evening would bring rest beneath stars and a warm, humble cottage. For now, this walk held the world's calm, simple grace. With the flock safe and sound, the herder breathed deep and slow. We turn now toward the tender hush of a village evening garden.
Twilight draped the garden in its serene blue embrace.
Lanterns flickered faintly among bushes heavy with ripe fruit. Crickets sang softly, weaving a steady melody through the cooling air. Leaves stirred in gentle pulses beneath the pale glow of the moon. Flowers closed slowly, held in calm, long-lasting twilight rest. A gardener moved quietly, tending plants with careful, practiced hands. Watering cans dripped faintly, nourishing roots in peaceful rhythm. A stone bench invited rest, worn smooth by patient years of use. Vines curled tenderly around wooden trellises, thriving in gentle care. The scent of jasmine floated softly on the cool breeze's breath. Fireflies danced lightly above the earth, their glow mellow and faint. The soft murmur of nearby streams blended with night's steady hum. Within the garden's heart, a small fountain trickled with calm sound. A cat prowled silently, its paws barely disturbing fallen leaves. Stars twinkled above, bright but steady in the vast, serene sky. The gentle rustling of night creatures added to the garden's hush. The world felt vast and tender in this quiet, secret space. Time unfurled slowly, wrapped in the garden's enduring embrace. Soft clouds drifted lazily across the deepening canopy of night. The gardener paused, breathing in the serene beauty all around. A cool breeze whispered, carrying peace through every leaf and petal. This tranquil moment held the promise of rest and renewal. The garden slept beneath the watchful moon, calm and still. We now move to the peaceful cycle of village chores at dawn. Before the sun rose, villagers stirred with steady, hushed movement. Buckets were filled with water drawn from wells with careful care. Mothers wrapped infants in soft shawls, their voices low and warm. Fires were stoked gently, sending pale smoke into the calm sky. Breakfast was prepared slowly, bread toasted on stones by steady flames. Washing of linens began, hands dipping fabric into cool, flowing streams. Children helped by gathering kindling with quiet determination and care. The air was fragrant with wood smoke, earth, and morning's fresh breath. Farm animals awoke in stalls, their low sounds blending into peace. The village hummed quietly, each task performed with calm devotion. Lanterns were carried softly to light paths still cloaked in mist. Footsteps echoed faintly on cobblestones, steady and measured in pace. Garden plots received tender waterings, leaves glistening in dawn's light. Clothes were hung on lines strung between wooden posts and ladders. The gentle creak of leather harnesses and wooden wheels filled the air. Quiet greetings passed between neighbors beginning their day's careful work. A slow breeze brought the faint scent of baking from nearby ovens. Church bells rang softly, marking the steady start of sacred hours. The village grew brighter under the steady touch of morning sun. Tasks unfolded one by one, each a note in a peaceful song. The earth welcomed gentle footsteps and careful hands once more. Morning glories opened their pale petals to greet the new light. Each day began anew, wrapped in calm and steady rhythms. We now wander to the gentle craft of weaving in a village home. Inside a small room, a loom stood ready with threads in place. Hands worked slowly, fingers guiding strands with tender skill and care. The rhythm of weaving was a steady, comforting heartbeat in the room. Light streamed softly through a window, illuminating delicate patterns formed.
Colors of wool blended warmly in muted hues, gentle and mellow.
The scent of dyed fibers mingled faintly with warm wood and earth. A spinner's wheel turned smoothly nearby, its hum steady and soft. Patterns grew slowly beneath steady, watchful eyes and tender hands. The room was quiet except for the faint creak of wood and fiber. Outside, the sun rose steadily, casting golden light through fragile glass. Old blankets and tapestries hung on walls, telling quiet stories in threads. A cat purred near the fire, rhythm slow and steady as the weaving. The weaver paused, admiring the gentle dance of colors and shapes. The weaving was a quiet act of creation, steady and serene. Soft shuttles moved rhythmically, creating fabric for warmth and comfort. The day outside wove around the room, peaceful and defined by rhythms. The work was steady, soothing, a meditation in thread and time. Evening light closed softly over the weaving room, calm and warm. The loom rested, its work awaiting the tender touch of dawn. We now shift our gaze toward the slow, steady pace of a village healer's day. Herbs hung drying in clumps beneath the low wooden beams of a cottage. The scent of chamomile and lavender filled the calm, mellow air. Hushed voices spoke softly in the small, warm room filled with healing tools. Glass jars held tinctures and powders, glowing faintly in quiet light. The healer's hands moved gently, preparing salves with timeless patience. Teas brewed slowly over steady fires, releasing warm, soothing aromas. Villagers visited quietly, their faces calm as they waited their turn. The healer listened closely, offering gentle words and steady smiles. Poultices were wrapped with tender care around tired, aching limbs. Soft blankets and pillows provided warmth beneath watchful, caring eyes. Windows opened to the garden, inviting steady breezes and sunlight inside. Plants were tended with thoughtful patience, roots and leaves a gentle touch. The air held an aura of calm, hushed and serene as the day passed. Children watched from doorways, eyes wide with quiet hope and trust. The healer's voice was a soft balm, steady as a lullaby's hum. Evening shadows stretched long as remedy bottles were carefully arranged. A small fire flickered in the hearth, casting mellow light and warmth. The healer's day ended with gratitude folded into peaceful silence. Outside, the village settled under the steady watch of moon and stars. We now glide softly into the gentle arrival of night in the village.
Stars appeared gradually in the velvet sky,
Calm and steady. Lanterns glowed faintly at doorways, sending warm light into dark lanes. Windows mirrored the quiet inside, where families rested and waited for sleep. The cicada's hum was a soft backdrop to the evening's tender hush. Children's breath slowed, rocking them gently toward peaceful dreams. Fireplaces flickered low, the hearth's glow steady and warm. Silhouettes moved slowly in candlelight, shadows dancing faintly on walls. Outside, cool breezes whispered through trees, brushing leaves like gentle fingertips. The village held its collective breath in a calm symphony of night. Slow footsteps phased into silence as streets emptied and moods softened. A dog's bark was brief and far away, swallowed by vast stillness. The moon cast a mellow light, bathing rooftops in soothing silver. Soft curtains fluttered with faint wind, a tender lullaby in fabric. Lantern smoke curled upward, vanishing into the star-filled sky. Rooms embraced warmth, wrapping each soul in steady comfort and peace. Eyes closed one by one, like the dusk folding around the village. The steady pulse of earth beneath was a silent comfort to all. Windows shuddered gently to hold in the calm of night's embrace. Starlight pooled softly on stone paths, quiet as steady breathing. Every heart in the village beat slow and steady in shared peace. The village slept, cradled by time's gentle, unending embrace. And so the night carried on, quiet and tender for all below. Let us gently now turn to the slow unfolding of a baker's afternoon. The baker's hands moved with calm and practiced ease. Flour dusted the wooden table in tender, swirling clouds. Sunlight spilled through the window, casting warm patterns on the floor. Loaves rested quietly, wrapped in cloth, to rise with gentle patience. The scent of yeast rose faintly, a peaceful invitation to rest. Whispers of wheat fields played softly beyond the village walls. Outside, birds chirped in occasional, tender bursts of melody. The baker paused to brush flour from his brow, calm and steady. His eyes met the dough with a quiet focus, full of care. The rhythmic kneading soothed like a familiar, steady lullaby. A small cat lay curled near the hearth, its breathing slow and even. The fire's amber glow flickered warmly, knitting shadows in the room. Baskets balanced nearby held grain and nuts, waiting their unhurried turn. Hands dipped into a bowl of soft honey, a sweet, mellow touch. The warm kitchen hummed with faint echoes of days gone by. Outside, soft breezes rustled leaves, carrying hints of distant rain. The baker's breath blended with the calm air, slow and deliberate. A wooden spoon stirred thick porridge with measured, steady strokes. The quiet ticking of a clock marked moments in gentle succession. Evening approached with a tender hush, settling over the village. The baker wiped his hands on a cloth, his motions unhurried. A warm loaf slid from the oven, crust golden and welcoming. He set it on a linen cloth, the room filled with mellow aroma. The hearth cast dancing light, soft as a whispered prayer. He smiled softly, content in the steady rhythm of simple days. Outside, shadows deepened, the village wrapped in calm tranquility. The baker's day wound down in peaceful ease and tender quiet. Loaves awaited their night's rest before dawn's gentle unfolding. He closed the door slowly, the world now steeped in evening's calm. Let us now drift toward the tranquil gardens by the village edge. Green leaves shimmered in the fading light, kissed by mellow warmth. Petals hung like soft drops of color amidst the tender vines. Bees hummed a faint, comforting tune as they moved among blossoms. A gentle breeze played lightly with branches, swaying them in steady rhythm. Here, the air was thick with faint scents of lavender and thyme. A wooden bench sat quietly beneath an arch of blooming roses. Sunset painted the sky in calm strokes of coral and pale gold. The soil felt soft underfoot, earthy and serene in late afternoon. Ladybugs marched slowly across dew-speckled leaves, their steps small and sure. Butterflies fluttered with peaceful grace, wings brushing petals like whispers. Nearby, a well bubbled with steady, cool water from deep in the earth. Gardeners moved with tender care, clipping and tending plants in relaxed focus. Old stone paths wound through beds of herbs, moss growing in the cracks. The soft murmur of distant streams blended with the garden's quiet voice. A cat padded softly through the grass, its footsteps hushed and light. The garden was a sanctuary, caught in a serene embrace of stillness. Flower heads nodded faintly as the evening air curled around them. Leaves rustled in rhythm like a slow, delicate song of the earth. A wooden bucket rested by a fence, filled with gathered morning rain. The gentle sound of dripping water filled the garden's peaceful heart. Sunlight faded gradually, melting into twilight's calm and steady hues. Crickets began a soft chorus, their trilling notes tender and soothing. The garden exhaled warmth as night slowly wove its cooling thread. Old trees stood watch, their branches extending in patient waiting arms. Underneath a fig tree, a basket of apples rested, ripe and mellow. The scent of earth and greenery wrapped tightly around every quiet corner. Wildflowers, kissed by the breeze, whispered secrets stored in their petals. The garden was alive with slow breathing calm, a living, tender dream. A gentle hush deepened as stars began their soft, steady sparkle. We move gently now to the calm rhythm of a smith's workshop. Inside the forge, warm embers glowed with a steady, inviting light. The blacksmith's hands moved with calm precision, steady on the anvil. Sparks leapt quietly, brief flickers of gold in the soft, hushed air. Tools rested neatly, each in its place, worn smooth by years. Leather aprons softened the clink of metal with faint, muffled thuds. The steady beat of hammer on iron was a soothing, measured song. Outside the window, leaves whispered in a faint, merging breeze. A slow drip of water from a barrel punctuated moments with tender drops. The smith paused, wiping sweat from his brow with calm, steady breathing. The smell of warmed metal mixed with faint wood smoke, earthy and familiar. His gaze softened on a half-finished horseshoe, edges rounded with care. Outside, farm animals murmured quietly, blending into the fading day. The fire crackled with a mellow, steady warmth, alive but peaceful. The forge was a harbor of calm within the village's steady pulse. Old wooden beams framed the workshop, soaked with history and silence. Sunlight filtered through dusty windows, casting quiet, dancing patterns. The smith's breaths came slow, his movements deliberate and unhurried. Leather-bound tomes rested on a shelf, filled with whispered wisdom and lore. A small cup of water sat nearby, untouched but steady on the bench. The sound of metal cooling echoed as the afternoon slipped into dusk. Outside, the village bell tolled faintly, marking time with calm resolve. A gentle wind carried the scent of pine and soft earth into the room. The hammer's rhythm slowed, then stopped, replaced by a lingering hush. Darkness pooled outside, the workshop glowing like a lantern in the night. The forge's ember warmth cradled the quiet, steady end of labor. Hands rested beside him, calm and ready for the coming rest. We now softly wander to the gentle pulse of weaving in a cottage. In a small room, light spilled softly on threads stretched taut and true. The weaver's fingers moved with tender, steady care through skeins of wool. Yarn shifted gently, colors blending in hushed, harmonious swirls. The hum of the loom was a steady, mellow heartbeat in the quiet air. Sunlight angled through a window, touching each thread with warm affection. A basket held unspun fleece, soft as a muted whisper in the corner. The weaver hummed faintly, a slow melody born from patient focus. Evening shadows stretched long, folding slowly into the room's calm embrace. Outside, crickets chirped modestly, their song a faint, steady promise. The floorboards creaked ever so slightly under a cat's wandering paws. Patterns formed quietly as loops and pulls drew fabric from thread. The scent of dyed cloth mingled with faint traces of beeswax polish. Hands moved as if in conversation with the loom's steady voice. A gentle breeze tousled loose hair, carrying whispers of distant woods. The weaver's breath matched the rhythm, slow as falling leaves. Near the fire, a basket of herbs sent a quiet, sweet perfume. The air was thick with calm, each moment unfolding like soft petals. A candle flickered, casting tender light on the woven fabric's emerging face. Spools of thread waited quietly, colors muted, yet full of gentle promise. Outside, the village began to settle into a peaceful, steady stillness. The loom's hum softened, slowing with the coming night's tender hand. The room breathed warmth, a cocoon of steady, patient craft and calm. Hands rested for a moment, the day's work cradled in contented ease. The weaver smiled faintly, a quiet joy shining in steady eyes. The evening deepened gently, shadows folding into a serene blanket. The threads lay waiting for a new day's soft, hopeful weaving. Now we glide slowly to the subdued charm of a village schoolroom. Wooden benches sat steady beneath windows glowing with fading light. Children's voices whispered in faint harmony, calm and steady as breathing. Lessons unfolded slowly, letters shaped with tender, deliberate strokes. Chalk dust twirled quietly in beams of mellow afternoon sun. The teacher's voice was calm, each word a careful, steady seed. Pages turned softly, filled with faded letters and patient learning. Small hands traced shapes in sandboxes, fingers steady and warm. In the corner, a globe rested, its colors muted and peaceful. Outside, birds perched on branches, their calls soothing and low. The room held a faint scent of wood, ink, and quiet hope. A gentle breeze fluttered curtains, carrying distant sounds of village life. Lessons paused occasionally, eyes meeting in calm understanding. The teacher smiled softly, a steady light in the room's gentle flow. Children's hearts beat slow, steady, like the village's shared rhythm. Books lay open, their pages whispering stories of distant, peaceful lands. The sun's fading glow cast long shadows on worn wooden floors. Quiet moments stretched between lessons, folded like warm cloths around all. Outside, the village chapel bell chimed faintly, gentle and steady. The children's laughter was a soft murmur, blending with calm evening. Hands rested carefully on desks, steady and ready to learn more. The room filled with a quiet sense of calm discovery and peace. A small candle was lit, its flame a tiny beacon of tender warmth. Slowly, the day's learning ebbed, the moment wrapped in hushed contentment. The teacher closed the book softly, eyes filled with patient care. The children gathered their things with slow, measured movements. Outside, the sky deepened into twilight's calm embrace and steady sigh. We turn now, with gentle steps, to the warmth of a village feast. Long wooden tables stood sturdy beneath bunches of faintly glowing lanterns. Families gathered with smiles softened by the warmth of shared company. The aroma of roasted vegetables mingled with faint herbs in the air. Bowls of thick stew rested on the table, steam drifting upward slowly. Loaves of coarse bread were broken and passed hand to hand with ease. Children sat quietly, cheeks flushed with contentment and gentle laughter. Candles flickered, their light casting tender shadows on weathered faces. A mother's touch smoothed a child's hair, a calm, loving rhythm. Voices rose just enough to mingle, but never disturb the hush. The village dogs lay nearby, restful and steady in their waiting. The meal was a slow dance of flavor, warmth, and calm sharing. Fresh fruits glistened quietly beneath lips, sweet and mellow with evening's calm. Salted butter softened on wooden plates, a tender spread for all. Elders spoke in soft tones, tales winding gently through the night air. The steady clink of cups marked moments of echoing peace. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, bringing night's cool embrace inside. Laughter softened into smiles, smiles folded into steady, tender silence. The firelight flickered low, mingling warmth with the cool night's breath. Hungry eyes closed slowly, full from the feast and quiet joy. Hands were cleaned with gentle cloths, cared for with steady calm. The village held a peaceful glow, wrapped in evening's mellow hush. Soft words of thanks floated through the space, quiet as falling leaves. The last crumbs were gathered, the feast's end tenderly arranged. Lanterns dimmed softly as sleep's invitation spread steady and true. Outside, stars blinked softly, witnesses to the evening's deep ease. The village exhaled warmth, cradled in a shared, gentle night. We now drift quietly to the gentle workings of a healer's day. Herbs hung in bunches, dried and fragrant in the cool morning air. The healer's hands moved slowly, gathering leaves with tender care. Water from a clay jug slipped silently into a waiting bowl. Sunlight filtered through woven baskets filled with root and flower. A faint ring of bells marked the start of the healer's calm routine. Soft murmurs of thanks floated from cottages where kindness was known. Each step was careful, deliberate, paced with steady compassion. A wooden spoon stirred tinctures in a quiet, swirling dance. Outside, morning mist curled around the village, serene and faint. Jars lined the shelves, filled with oils, salves, and gentle remedies. The healer's breath was slow, steady like the rhythm of the earth. Leaves rustled faintly as a breeze moved through the open window. The scent of pine and mint wove softly with the room's warm calm. A bird alighted briefly on the windowsill, still as the dawn. The healer's smile was tender, hands steady with quiet resolve. Time moved gently here, unhurried as healing's quiet art. The warmth of fires burned low, comforting souls through slow days. Clay pots rested carefully on shelves, their surfaces steady, familiar. A faint tapping of wood on stone marked the healer's thoughtful movements. Evening approached, like a soft shawl draped across the hills. The day's work folded into gentle peace and steady rest.
Quiet footsteps echoed softly as evening visits came and went.
The healer's eyes reflected calm wells of patient understanding. Night's hush settled over the village, serene and deeply still. A final cup of tea was savored in slow, tender sips. Outside, crickets sang faint lullabies to fields basking in moonlight. The healer closed her door, carried by night's steady breath. Now we glide gently toward the unhurried rhythm of a village gardener. Hands gently tended rows of green, steady in nurturing care. Morning dew clung faintly to leaves, soft as whispered blessings. The gardener's eyes swept over shoots, reaching for warm daylight. A low hum of bees blended seamlessly with the earth's quiet pulse. Wooden tools rested neatly, each handle worn smooth by steady touch. Sunlight pooled warmly among the foliage, bathing roots in calm. Birdsong touched the air, a delicate melody threading through blooms. The gardener paused, breathing deeply the cool scent of fresh soil. Vines curled slowly around stakes, perfect arcs of patient growth. Petals unfurled like soft smiles in steady procession of color. A basket filled with freshly picked herbs rested near calloused hands. The air was alive with quiet hums and tender, stirring life. Roots grew deep beneath a blanket of softly turned earth. Dewdrops glistened faintly on spiderwebs stretched like fine lace. The gardener moved with steady calm, a quiet steward of growth. Sunbeams filtered through leaves in dapples of warm, steady light. A small bird hopped nearby, bright eyes full of gentle trust. The day flowed forward slowly, wrapped in nature's calm embrace. Evening shadows stretched long, folding the garden in mellow tones. A lantern was lit softly, its glow warm against cool night air. The gardener rested, hands folded over gentle earth's still heartbeat. Outside, stars shimmered faintly through the garden's protective arms. The night cradled the blooms like a mother's tender lullaby. Soft breaths of wind moved carefully through her peaceful domain. Dew cooled the earth, steady as a quiet, unending promise. The gardener's smile was a calm light in the deepening dusk. Now we flow quietly toward the hushed corners of a monastic scriptorium. In a chapel's shadow, candle flames flickered soft and steady. Monks sat at wooden desks, pens dipping in ink with calm grace. Pages turned slowly, their parchment thick with dawn's pale light. The scent of old wood and wax wove quietly through the still air. Careful hands traced letters shaped with tender, deliberate strokes. Outside, the garden hummed faintly, a soft counterpoint to silence. A quill scratched gently, a faint, steady sound among hushed voices. Monks bowed their heads in thought, serene and deeply focused. Scrolls were sorted slowly, each word a seed of quiet kindness. The warmth of the fire softened shadows, knitting them close and calm. A textured stone floor held countless echoes of steady footsteps. The smell of herbs and parchment mingled in a mellow, ancient dance. Light filtered faintly through stained glass, painting walls with muted hues. The monks whispered prayers softly, their voices a gentle breeze. Every breath was slow, a measured beat in a delicate hymn. A small bell tolled faintly, marking time's silent, tender passage. Outside, the village quieted, wrapped in night's serene shroud. Books lay open with stories, their letters steady as whispered prayers. The warmth of candlelight held the room in a calm embrace. Pens rested gently, their owners bathed in steady reflection. The scriptorium breathed with a timeless, unhurried reverence. Soft chants lifted faintly from distant pews, mellow and sure. The evening deepened gently, folding moments into steady comfort. Hands closed books with care, tender guardians of quiet knowledge. Night's curtain fell slowly as prayers softened to restful stillness. Outside, stars shimmered, timid and steady in deep velvet skies. We gently moved to the mellow pace of a village potter's kiln. Clay spun slowly on the wheel, shaped by fingers firm but kind. The potter's breath was steady, matching wheel's calm, unwavering turn. Earth's rich scent filled the air with warmth and quiet memory. Tools traced gentle lines, carving calm patterns on rounded surfaces. Lumps of clay rested nearby, soft as a faded, tender cloud. The kiln awaited, glowing faintly with secret heat and gentle promise. Sunlight touched dust motes swirling lazily in the warm, still room. The potter's eyes softened as vessels took shape with quiet care. A cat purred nearby, its tail flicking in steady rhythm beside the wheel. The wooden stool creaked faintly with each slow, measured movement. Blocks of dry clay waited patiently in rows upon smooth shelves. Outside, trees stood silent, their leaves shimmering with calm anticipation. Water dripped softly into a basin, a faint, soothing cadence. The wheel spun on, a steady, tender dance of form and creation. Hands shaped each pot with gentle firmness, a loving conversation with earth. Warmth from the kiln promised transformation in patient, radiant waves. Quiet hours passed, wrapped in soft glows and calm concentration. The first pot was set aside to dry, its curves serene and sure. The potter paused, eyes resting quietly on the day's unfolding work. Twilight filtered over rooftops, draping the workshop in gentle hues. Faint smoke wreathed the chimney, a slow spiral into twilight's breath. The potter breathed deeply, filled with the steady peace of making. Outside, fireflies blinked on and off in slow, tender pulses. Night's hush draped the village in a blanket of steady quiet. The kiln's gentle warmth lingered like a soft heartbeat in stone. Hands folded in lap, the potter smiled faintly, a calm light. Now, softly, we drift toward the gentle flicker of a village inn. The inn glowed warmly under soft lantern light, inviting steady rest. Wooden beams creaked softly, echoing numerous peaceful evenings shared here. The scent of baked pies mingled with faint tobacco smoke by the hearth. Guests murmured quietly in corners, their voices low and steady as dreams. A fire burned bright, its amber light flickering over calm, smiling faces. The innkeeper moved with tender care, pouring ale in gentle rhythm. Outside, the moon hung low, a serene guardian of slow night hours. Tables wore marks of many meals, stories whispering beneath steady wear. The clink of mugs was soft, a metronome in the evening's calm. Curtains swayed with the breeze, carrying in the whispers of the street. The inn's walls held warmth like a quilt wrapped around every visitor. The steady rhythm of footsteps mingled with laughter's faintest return. Lantern light painted golden pools on weathered floorboards and sturdy chairs. The air held a gentle hum of comfort and quiet belonging. A dog lay near the fire, breathing deep in restful slumber. The room pulsed softly with the heartbeats of contented souls within. A bard strummed a lute, notes slow and smooth like falling rain. Voices grew softer as night deepened, folding all into calm folds. The innkeeper's smile was a beacon of steady, welcoming warmth. Folks spoke of crops, the weather, their words measured and soothing. Glasses were refilled with steady hands, the rhythm calm and inviting. Outside, stars glimmered faint and hushed above the village rooftops. The hearth's glow embraced each visitor, a gentle guardian of peace. The inn's quiet sanctuary held moments slow and steady as breath. Beds were prepared gently, the promise of sleep wrapped in soft linens. The night whispered softly, cradling each soul in tender shadows. In this place of rest, time folded calmly into itself again. Now we wander slowly toward the delicate world of a candle maker. Wax warmed gently in a pot, melting in serene, amber pools. The candle maker's hands dipped wicks with steady, tender grace. Soft drips fell quietly into molds, forming slender candles with care. The room smelled faintly sweet, a blend of honey and beeswax. Sunlight filtered softly through windows dusted with gentle morning light. Stacks of dried herbs rested quietly nearby, scents waiting in repose. The maker paused to smooth a wick, fingers steady on the task. A small fire crackled softly, casting mellow shadows on rough walls. The cool air mingled with warm wax, calm and embracing. Each candle was crafted slowly, a meditation of light and patience. Outside, children's distant laughter floated faintly on the morning breeze. Tools lined the table, polished smooth by years of unhurried work. The maker's breath matched the rhythm of dipping and drying candles. Soft threads of smoke curled from a nearby smudge of sandalwood. The quiet ticking of a clock marked delicate moments passing by. Bundles of dried lavender hung from beams, their scent tender and ripe. Warm candlelight promised gentle hours to come, peaceful and steady. The process unfolded with steady repetition, a calm ritual of making. Each candle cooled slowly, holding within it a promise of soft glow. The maker smiled faintly, hands rested, and heart full of calm. Outside, the village moved quietly below a faded, tender sky. Evening's hush wrapped the workshop in a serene, gentle blanket. The last candle was set on a shelf, waiting for night's embrace. A soft breeze stirred curtains, carrying scent and quiet into dusk. Night folded the world softly as wax hardened with steady patience. The candle maker closed the door gently, the day sealed in calm. Next, we rest ourselves beside the soothing quiet of a small village pond. Water lay still, a smooth glass mirror reflecting fading light warmly. Reeds leaned softly over the edge, their whispers mingling with faint frogs. Dragonflies hovered in slow circles, wings catching the last soft rays. The air held a peaceful chill, touched tenderly by evening's cool breath. Water lilies floated gently, their petals a hushed touch on calm surface. Small fish wove slow paths beneath lily pads, steady in silent grace. The pond's edge was framed by mossy stones, cool and tender to touch. Insects trilled faintly, a rhythmic lullaby from the heart of the wetland. Dragonflies blinked and shimmered, their movements tender and smooth as silk. Nearby, a willow's branches draped low, swaying with slow, deliberate motion. Reflections shimmered softly, merging sky, tree, and water in serene embrace. The cool mud beneath the pond's edge clung gently to bare toes. A single duck drifted, silent, except for gentle ripples trailing behind. Evening shadows spread wide, blanketing the water in soft comfort. The pond's breath was slow, steady, as the village heartbeat nearby. Small ripples formed and vanished, tender as the touch of a breeze. The sky's deep blue folded gradually into twilight's quiet cloak. Stars began their slow awakening, blinking softly through cool silver clouds. A frog croaked faintly, its rhythm steady as Earth's quiet pulse. The world seemed to hold its breath in tender, peaceful balance. The pond glimmered like a hidden treasure beneath night's calm veil. Leaves fluttered gently, a quiet chorus of rest at day's end. The night deepened softly, wrapping the village in steady, hushed arms. Water mirrored moonlight, casting gentle waves of luminous calm. The world turned slow, gentle, held in peace beneath the stars. We now drift toward the delicate calm of a scribe's quiet evening. Candles burned low, their flames flickering tender against parchment's pale glow. The scribe's hand moved slowly, tracing letters with soft, measured strokes. Ink pooled gently on the page, a deep, steady river of thought. Outside, the wind whispered through trees, hushed as a lullaby's breath. The room smelled faintly of wood, ink, and soft beeswax polish. A quill rested briefly, before dipping back into its dark, steady pool. Paper silently drank the words, a quiet witness to patient craft. The scribe's eyes softened, focused in calm, steady concentration. Old books surrounded the small desk, their pages folded in gentle repose. The scratching sound was faint, a constant mellow heartbeat in the still. A cat purred softly on a nearby chair, breathing slow and even. The night deepened beyond the window, thickening with serene quiet. Stars blinked faintly through glass, steady watchers of the sacred work. The scribe paused, hands resting beside finished lines, the room at peace. A slow breath filled the silence, weaving calm throughout the chambers. The candle's flame danced lightly, casting gentle shadows on faded walls. Words settled into stillness, resting like soft feathers on the page. Time folded gently
around the task.
slow as twilight's tender sigh. The scribe smiled faintly, fulfilled by steady, quiet creation. The day's last moments slipped softly into restful, peaceful darkness. Paper lay ready for tomorrow's gentle light and patient filling. The world outside moved slow and still beneath the calm of night. The scribe closed the book softly, a slow echo in the hushed room. The night wrapped the scriptorium in a steady, serene cocoon. We now move with quiet steps toward the cool shade of an orchard. Apple trees stood tall, their branches heavy with ripe, mellow fruit. A faint breeze moved through leaves, whispering in steady, soothing tones. Grass grew thick beneath, soft as a featherbed in the warm sun. Bees hummed lowly among blossoms, a gentle chorus of life and calm. Sunlight played through branches, casting dappled patterns that swayed slowly. The scent of ripe apples filled the air, warm and inviting. A woven basket rested beside a tree, waiting for slow harvest. The orchard was a refuge, steady and peaceful under the sky's gaze. Birds flitted quietly among branches, their songs a faint, soothing melody. The earth was soft beneath bare feet, cool and steady like a breath. Leaves rustled gently, weaving a calm song between sky and soil. Apples touched one another, heavy with the promise of quiet sweetness. Shadows stretched long as the afternoon waned, folding the orchard in embrace. Small animals stirred softly in underbrush, blending into steady quiet. A ladder leaned patiently against a sturdy trunk, worn smooth by hands. Sunset painted the sky with peaceful hues of pink and soft gold. The orchard breathed slow and calm, alive with nature's tender pulse. The breeze carried scents of earth and fruit deep into the cooling air. Branches swayed gently, rocking softly as birds settled for rest. The last light slipped slowly, wrapping the trees in steady twilight. Apples glowed faintly in dusk's tender, steady embrace of shadow. The orchard held its breath, a quiet sanctuary in the evening. Night's blanket folded over leaves, soft and assuring as a mother's hold. Stars drifted into view, tender pinpricks in the deep, calm sky. The orchard whispered softly, a lullaby cradling earth and sky alike. We move now smoothly into the heartfelt warmth of a family hearth. Smoke curled calmly from a stone chimney, drifting steady and faint. Inside, a fire warmed hearth and heart alike with glowing tendrils. A mother stirred porridge gently, her movements tender, filled with love. Children sat nearby, eyes soft and bright, in fire's mellow light. The small home was filled with quiet laughter, shared and easy. Wooden table bore simple dishes, each offering calm comfort and warmth. A father tuned a lute softly, fingers tracing steady, mellow melodies. The fire's crackle blended with whispered stories unfolding slowly by its glow. Lantern light flickered on wooden walls, casting tender, dancing shadows. A cat stretched lazily by the hearth, breathing slow as the day. Hands passed bowls with gentle care, shared kindness in steady exchange. Outside, wind rustled leaves, a faint chorus cushioning the quiet night. The family's voices wrapped around one another, soft, warm, connected. Steady breaths rose and fell in unison with the fire's calm rhythm. The scent of herbs from windowsills mingled with smoke's gentle trace. The evening unfolded with measured grace, moments serene and meaningful. Eyes met across the room, reflections of quiet joy and comfort. Old quilts draped chairs, thick with stories and steady, tender warmth. The home was a sanctuary off the village's slower-moving river. Porridge bowl emptied, replaced by quiet smiles and contented sighs. Soft tones of song drifted through the room, steady and sweet. The hearth's warmth settled deeply in each resting heart and home. Evening prayers were whispered, wrapping day in a calm, steady net. Candles flickered low, shadows blending with peace that never hurried. The family unfolded into night, folded as gently as soft cloth. Outside, the stars twinkled faint between branches bathed in serene moonlight. Now, we drift slowly toward the tender calm of a village mill. The water wheel turned slowly, steady as breath against the sunlit stream. Miller's hands rested lightly on worn wood, smooth from years of touch. Grain flowed like soft whispers through the millstone's steady, gentle grind. The mill pond mirrored sky, its surface calm and mirror bright. A cool, damp scent clung to stones, rich with earth's quiet embrace. Sunlight filtered through moss-dappled trees, warm and steady on the mill. The steady creak of the wheel was a soothing heartbeat in hushed air. Dry sacks of grain sat patiently, waiting for their gentle transformation. The miller's breath was soft, measured, matching nature's steady pulse. Water splashed faintly against rocks, a tender rhythmic song of motion. Inside, flower dust motes drifted lazily in golden shafts of sun. The mill was a restful place, full of steady, quiet rhythms. Outside, birds flitted among branches in slow, joyful dances. The miller paused, eyes reflecting calm pools beneath sky's tender gaze. Ancient timbers creaked softly, weaving history into present stillness. Slow winds stirred tree leaves, weaving soft patterns with whispers and shade. The village bell sounded faintly, a mellow note drifting across fields. The day faded slowly, wrapped in calm shadows and softened light. The mill's wheel turned on, steady as the quiet passage of time. Water flowed endlessly, a liquid lullaby soothing earth and stone. The miller smiled faintly, cradled in the day's peaceful closing. Dusk wrapped the mill house in a shawl of deepening tender calm. Lanterns glowed softly, their light blending with twilight's steady breath. Night's hush folded gently over the village, embracing every quiet curve. The water wheels turning slowed to rest as stars claimed the sky. The mill became a still island in the calm sea of night. Now, let us drift with ease toward the subtle glow of a candlelit chapel. Soft chants rose slowly under vaulted arches, warm tones mingling gently. Candle flames flickered, casting dancing shadows on ancient stone walls. Incense trailed faintly, weaving calm scents like whispered prayers throughout air. The congregation's breath slowed, deepening with steady, tender rhythm. Light spilled through stained glass in pale, steady pools of color. Robes rustled softly as monks moved with measured grace and calm. Old wood and stone hummed faintly with centuries of peaceful devotion. The altar glowed softly, candles steady in their circle of light. Voices mingled low, a steady river flowing through the sacred space. The space exhaled serenity, wrapped in gentle folds of sound and scent. Outside, the village night breathed steady and hushed beneath the stars. The quiet ringing of small bells marked time with peaceful cadence. Eyes rested softly on open books filled with slow, sacred words. Candles burnt low, a tender reminder of steadfast faith and calm. The chapel held time still, suspended in gentle prayer and reflection. The gentle rise and fall of voices was a lullaby for souls. Stone pillars stood like silent sentinels, wrapped in mellow twilight. The scent of incense mingled with old wood and the faintest musk of history. Each word spoken was a soft thread weaving calm through all hearts. The air shimmered softly with holiness and steady, tender peace. Light held each face in quiet, reverent glow as prayers unfolded. The night grew deeper, folding prayers into a serene, steady blanket. Monks moved quietly to candles, their hands slow and reverent. The chapel breathed with a tender pulse, steady as a mother's heart. The congregation's voices faded gradually, a calm wave of release and rest. The sacred space settled into stillness as night's hush deepened. Outside, gentle stars glimmered faintly, watchers of this calm sanctuary. We now drift softly away toward the slow breathing rhythms of a village blacksmith's quiet evening. The forge's fire glowed low, embers flickering like tiny steady stars. The blacksmith's arms rested, muscles relaxed after days' steady work. Tools lay arranged neatly, shadows stretching long in soft firelight. A cool breeze whispered through open doors, carrying hints of pine and earth. The room smelled faintly of smoke, metal, and worn leather's steady comfort. The blacksmith watched flickering flames, their warmth a tender embrace. Outside, crickets offered a steady, mellow song to accompany quiet thought. A worn hammer rested gently on the anvil, silent but ready. The fire's crackle was a soothing, familiar pulse in dim twilight. The blacksmith's breath fell slow and even, mingling with the night's calm. Hands folded together, resting warm on knees, steady and at peace. Shadows threw shifting patterns on walls like waves of dark velvet. The hearth's glow spotlighted small sparks caught in the air's slow dance. Outside, the village settled deeper into night's soft and steady arms. Lanterns in windows flickered faint, their light steady as watchful eyes. The blacksmith smiled softly, a quiet soul cradled by fire and silence. The slow turning of the moon cast silver over darkened streets. In this tranquil moment, time seemed to pause in gentle stillness. The warm room breathed with stories held in its patient wooden bones. Outside, the night wrapped all in a calm, steady embrace of rest. Every sound softened into whispers beneath stars' faint, tender gleam. The blacksmith's day ended as slowly as evening's deepening velvet shade. His eyes closed gently, dreams folding softly into the peaceful dark. Outside, the faint rustle of leaves was a lullaby in the hush. The forge rested, a quiet ember fading into the steady night. The world sighed gently, couched in the calm cradle of time. The blacksmith's quiet night whispered promises of steady dawn's soft light. Now we drift ever so slowly to the stillness beside a village well. Stone walls curved gently around the cool, steady pool of water. The well's bucket hung silent, swaying faintly in a tender breeze. Mist hovered close to the earth, a soft veil cloaking quiet sounds. The air smelled faintly of moss and damp earth, a peaceful perfume. Evening settled slowly, wrapping the village heart in steady calm. Voices far off drifted gently, softened by time and distance. A wooden cover rested over the well like a patient guardian. Leaves rustled quietly, their soft susurrus blending with the night's breath. Fireflies blinked as slow glimmers above wildflowers near the stone rim. The cold water shimmered faintly, mirroring stars' mellow, steady watch. A small frog settled on moss, steady as a quiet heartbeat. The village gentle thrum was hushed here, a sanctuary of stillness. A breeze moved softly through branches, carrying secrets wrapped in peace. The well seemed to hold the night's deep calm in its silent depths. Moonlight filtered through leaves, delicately stroking every tranquil surface. The earth whispered slow tales, wrapped in gentle quiet and shadow. The bucket dangled with quiet patience, waiting for morning's tender hands. The village exhaled warmth that mingled with night's mellow embrace. Stars traced soft paths in the deep sky's steady, infinite gaze. The quiet ripples of water called softly to calm wandering souls. Each sound folded gently into dark, smooth as a mother's arms. The air was still, breathing slow and steady over stone and leaf. A soft sigh passed through the trees, a blessing cast on the night. The well stood sentinel, keeper of life's steady, tender course. The village slept, cradled softly by earth's slow, breathing heart. Outside, the night hummed faint, a lullaby of endless peace. Now, with quiet steps, we drift toward the early morning in a quiet village street. Dawn's first light seeped softly between narrow wooden houses lined in peace. Cobblestone streets lay still, kissed lightly by the faint breath of morning. Smoke curled gently upward from chimneys, weaving slow trails into cool air. Doors opened slowly, welcoming the promise of a calm, new day. Birds greeted the sun with faint songs, tender notes in soft harmony. A milkmaid moved softly, carrying pails steady with cool dawn's weight. Cats stretched languidly in hearths, their eyes gleaming with quiet beginnings. Morning dew settled on windowsills, glistening like tiny jewels of calm. The scent of fresh bread floated from a bakery, mellow and inviting. Villagers greeted one another with hushed smiles and slow, steady steps. Lanterns were blown out carefully, their flickers folded into breathless night. A gentle breeze rustled laundry strung high, fluttering like soft dreams. Horse hooves echoed faintly on stone,
a quiet tread of steady pace.
The sky blushed pale pink and blue, wrapped in dawn's serene embrace. Shop doors creaked open, revealing stalls arrayed with slow, careful order. Gardeners tidied plots beside neat cottages, their hands calm and sure. Bread was sliced thick and soft, butter melting in steady golden pools. Faint chatter rose, low and steady, threaded with warm familiarity. A child's laughter pealed out, mellow as morning light spilling warmly. The village clock chimed gently, marking time with tender, measured notes. The air held a promise of peace, steady as the rising sun. Fences glowed softly in the gentle rays, their paint muted but bright. A gentle hum of life stirred slowly, unfurling steady in the new day. Pigeons cooed softly from rooftops, comfort carried on fluttering wings. The village stretched awake in peace, wrapped in dawn's quiet shawl. Shadows receded slowly as warm light folded into every corner. The day's soft rhythms began with calm footsteps along peaceful streets. And so the gentle moments of the past drift softly into dream. May these calm memories bring rest and comfort as you sleep. Thank you for listening, and have a peaceful night.